Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I think we can start. Welcome to this session. It's the last session of this Geotheroom initiative. It's an online geothermal free school organized by the IGCP 636 project. It's a project supported by the International Geoscience Program of the UNESCO. The last month of this year, well, not the last month of this year, but the last month of this initiative, November, it's about Italy. We already had a webinar 2 weeks ago. Today we have a speaker, Nunzia Bernardo and Adele Manzella from Italy. I would like to thank Renato Somma for organizing this webinar. And I will introduce you to Nunzia. Nunzia is a geologist working for research on energetic system, a government-based research company. Her expertise mainly includes integration of the geoscience in the energy sector and the identification of territory strategies to improve resilience of the energy system towards climate change and geological hazard, and the use of advanced analysis technique for supporting institutional and private subjects in defining strategies and investments towards sustainability and decarbonization. So I will stop sharing my screen, and Nunzia, go ahead. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Daniela, and thank you also to Renato to give us the opportunity to share our research activities. So we already had a check, but I hope you all are able to see my screen that I'm sharing.
Yes, we are.
Going to do this, so maybe you can see all the screen. Okay. So, as I was saying, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us and to let us share the research activity, the main research activity and the results of that we are carrying out on geothermal field. Today, I'm going to talk about the potential that we are exploring of geothermal for both for energy and for mining production for the recovery of strategic raw materials. So this is my agenda. First part, I'm going to give you, in the first part, I'm going to give you a brief overview of who we are and what we do, tradition of geothermal energy in Italy, geothermal application as compared as a function of the temperature, so pros and cons of the two type of application. And then I'm going to the core of the presentation, giving you the information about the potential that we are exploring both for energy production and for mining production of geothermal brines. So who we are a government-based research company, and our holding is the GSC, the National Manager of the Energetic Services. I belong to the Department Sustainable Development and Energy Resources. And in our structure, we carry out research activities in the electroenergetic sector with particular reference to national strategic projects that are funded by Ricerca di Sistema, that is a public fund that is provided by central government. So we support the central government, but also local administration and private stakeholders for the strategy, for the energetic strategy, for the improvement of the national grid, for the resilience of the national grid, and everything that refers to, of course, the national electroenergetic system. As we know, Italy was the first country that was able to produce energy from geothermal, and the first geothermal plant went into production in Larderello in 1913. And till the half of last century, we were the only country that was able to produce electricity from geothermal. Worldwide statistics still insert us into the top 10 of the geothermal countries as per the installed capacity. Unfortunately, we went through a long steady state for the geothermal energy in Italy, but we hope that the energy transition is going to help us and is going to give a big input to a bigger and a deeper exploration and exploitation of all the potential of geothermal in our country. In Italy, energy from geothermal sources represents 5% of energy from renewable sources. Geothermal power plants produce every year 6 terawatt of energy with just over 1,000 megawatt of installed power, of which 200 are used for the heating and cooling, so direct use of thermal energy. You all know that in Italy, the main geothermal region is Tuscany, where the geothermal energy covers approximately 35% of region's electricity needs and allows saving 4 million tons of CO2 emission per year. So which are the keywords of geothermal energy? First of all, geothermal is, of course, renewable sources. So on the same page of energy transition target, because we need to improve the usage and the introduction of the renewables in our electroenergetic system. But also, very important keyword is that is programmable. So means that we have the opportunity to manage and balance the need and the request of energy as per the certain period of year of the day. As we all know, we have a different application of geothermal energy as a function of the temperature. So we have a low geothermal energy application, medium geothermal energy application, and high geothermal energy application. Pros and cons of these two way and application for geothermal energy. First of all, for high and medium geothermal, we need 3 main objectives. One is the geothermal reservoir. Second is the fluid. And third is the need of a positive gradient anomaly of the geothermal gradient. Pros are, as I said, flexibility, programmability, and the availability of the resource, competitive costs, and low environmental impact. Cons, unfortunately, refers to the cost of investment that are still very high and not affordable for small companies. Only big companies can afford the initial investment. And as a mining activity, it has a mining risk related to geothermal activity for high temperature application. For low enthalpy, the principle of use is the geo-exchange. So we don't need a reservoir, we don't need a geothermal fluid, and it is not necessary to have an anomaly into the geothermal gradient. It can satisfy needs related to different types of users, both in the residential and industrial sectors. There are considerable environmental advantages in terms of CO2 emission and fine dust. And we have the possibility of making buildings more efficient up to 4 energy classes. And there is a very low payback time. Unfortunately, also here, we have high cost of investment, but as we already have done so much in this year for the national regulation, we also want to work on the incentives that can allow and can make low geothermal energy application spread all over the territory. So after this brief introduction, I'm going to the core of my presentation that is related to the potential that we are exploring in our research activities for the energy production from geothermal and for the mining production of geothermal. First of all, what we do and what we did. We made, after an official request of the central government, we built up and we realized the geothermal zonation of Italy. That is very easy to use for the governments, but also for normal citizens, and where you can find information at the municipality scale about the temperature of the underground around 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 meters of depth. You can have information about the heat flow and also other geological information such as the depth of the top of the carbonate formation that is the main geothermal reservoir in Italy. With the zonation, we tried also after the zonation, we also try to estimate a geothermal producibility after we had the opportunity to see what were the hottest municipalities all over Italy. So we selected the areas where the underground was having more than 120 degrees Celsius within the 3,000 meters of depth. So we were able to select around 400 municipalities and estimate a thermal power installable of around 13,000 megawatt and a geothermal potential expressed as an energy obtainable per year equal to 150 terawatt per year. Zonation is not limited to the medium and high enthalpy, but also we are carrying out this activity for the low enthalpy. Of course, you can imagine how much big is the amount of data that we are processing to give the information about the underground, but we are trying to. And here I'm showing you an example for a region of South Italy, that is Calabria, where we were able to identify 3 different areas of at a different potential expressed in terms of lambda. And on the right, on the graph, on the histograms on the right, you can see a comparison that we made between the lambda recovered from the scientific and the bibliography and the lambda that we at that comes from the ground response test. As you can see, the potential is even bigger from what we estimated. But what we want to do with the zonation is to give an information that is clear and useful and useful for everyone, also for normal citizens. Of course, geothermal is a very big campaign and detailed campaign, geological campaign to estimate the real potential of the area, but you can make a choice between the areas that, as per our maps, are the more profitable for this usage. Of course, we don't stop we don't stop at a mapping of the potential, but also we want to analyze the geological feasibility and sustainability over time of the geothermal system that we supposed to have in certain areas. So we want to make sure that there are not going to be heat interferences or some other occurrence that can make the project and the plans not sustainable over time. So we want to avoid all the uncertainties. And we carry out this activity with a very deep modeling activity. As I said, we also support local strategies, and what I'm showing here is one of the activity of mapping and supporting Tirano area, Tirano municipality, that is a region in Lombardy, a city in Lombardy region, where we try to integrate geothermal as per the territorial potential in the energy mix of the energy communities. But also we carried out some other activities supporting other municipalities and local administration like Roma Capitale. We supported Rome into the Smart Med project that at that time Rome called us because the administration wanted to respond to a Horizon 2020 call for the creation of smart energy district in urban areas, and we had a case study for Pietralata. But also we, and this is very much important, we supported Roma Capitale for the PAESC, that is Piano d'Azione per l'Energia Sostenibile e il Clima, and I try to give you a translation, that is Action Plan for Sustainable Energy and Climate of Rome capital city, where we carried out, among others, you can say analysis for other renewables. We carried out this study that was the hypothesis of, for the development of low enthalpy geothermal energy in the Roma Capitale area by 2030. I'm giving you a brief insight of this activity. This activity was carried out in collaboration with our holding GSC, and the activity falls within the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan, as I said, that is a document that is envisaged by the Pact of Majors, that is the largest movement at the global scale for the cities that are carrying out action for the environment, climate, and energy. All cities joining this pact pursue the objective to reduce through an action plan through the action plan, through this document, to this analysis, the climate altering emission of their territory by at least 40% by 2030. But the plan that we drawn up and was approved by Rome exceeded this target, and we reached almost 52% of the climate altering emission reduction by 2030. Why I was giving a deeper explanation of the PAESC? Because you all know, and all the global and also the Italian classification tells us that most part of the emission in terms of CO2 and fine dust come from the residential sector, from the buildings. So if we want to target, if we want to reach the European and Italian the target for the emission reduction, we need to start from what we have. So we have the possibility to decarbonize buildings, decarbonize the residential sector that is giving, unfortunately, is contributing for the most part for the fine dust emission and CO2 emission. So Roma Capitale, the work that we carried out for Roma Capitale is giving to Rome this opportunity to decarbonize cities, starting from the local area, and then we can expand and go forward in this decarbonization. As I said, another potential that we are exploring for the geothermal is the mining potential of geothermal. As you all know, for the energy transition is going to be the demand of strategic materials and minerals for the energy transition technology is going to rise and increase in an exponential way. So we need to find a different way that is also sustainable to supply raw materials we will need for the energy transition, for batteries, for electric vehicle, for photovoltaics, and so on. So our study has the objective to give to the government, to the central government, an opportunity to diversify the raw material supply and supply of raw material in a sustainable way, because we are combining electric production and also mining recovery to reduce the criticality and support an internal raw material supply policy. So our activity basically is to aiming to identify all the opportunities of the renewables of georesources, in this case geothermal, and integrates these opportunities to identify strategies for the Italian energy sector. So with this last slide, I end here my presentation. Of course, it's not this all is not what I presented is not my only my job, but we are a team. If we have questions, I'm able to reply if I can. And if you want to stay in touch, here is my email address.
Grazie. Grazie. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. We have a question in the chat from Cesar Patiño, who is a colleague here in Colombia. He asked you about co-production from hydrocarbons cases in Italy. Are there any studies or ongoing experimental work in this topic?
You mean, sorry, thank you first of all, thank you for the question. You mean co-production of hydrocarbon and geothermal?
Yes.
I don't think we have this ongoing also pilot in Italy for this, but I'm happy to know something if worldwide someone is carrying out this kind of activity.
Yes, in Colombia we have the first pilot of this case was started last year, and yes, they use like the hot water that is extracted with oil from an oil field in Colombia, and it's working quite well, but I even don't remember. I'm Italian, but now in Italy we have gas well, oil well no, but gas well, yes, we have some.
Yeah, we have gas and we have oil. Oil in Po Valley, all the Po Valley and the offshore plants, but
they don't do this kind of study.
At this point of time, I don't have news about this topic, but of course I'm happy to share more information if with someone knows better than me.
Well, if I can intervene, hello.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Adele Manzella, and I know that Eni is starting to consider this, partly in Italy, but also in other areas. But there isn't any project, official project. They are just making some studies on this. Consider that one of our plants in the most important deep list. District heating, geothermal district heating comes from an hydrocarbon well. So a well that was drilled for hydrocarbon and then turned out to be not very poor for hydrocarbons, but with water, enough water for district heating. And but then turned completely on toward only geothermal production without hydrocarbons. So
okay,
now,
so it's a brainstorming phase,
yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Okay.
But
thank you for the question anyway.
Okay, so if you have more questions, yes, reuse water, yes, Cesar. If you have more questions for Nunzia.
Sorry, Daniela, I just want to add something.
Sure.
I know I have this information about the possibility to reuse wells that are not more suitable for hydrocarbons, but I don't have the information about the combined production in Italy. But like Eni and other companies are thinking about reuse wells that were suitable for hydrocarbons and are not more in production for hydrocarbons. This new, I think, it to people that are here in the room.
Okay. In case if you have more questions, you can write in the chat and we can answer at the end. I try to not waste too much time. We can start with Adele. So Adele is a senior scientist and geophysicist at the National Research Council of Italy, CNR. Her main research activity has been geothermal exploration, then turning her interest towards environmental and social aspects of geothermal energy and promoting and supporting the development of geothermal energy. So Adele, thank you very much. You can go ahead.
Thank you. I will share the screen or directly my slides. I hope you can see them now.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So you see, I changed slightly the style of my hair, but here I am with my picture of geothermal. On my back, there is a picture of geothermal Tuscany. And in that picture, you cannot see, but you have to trust me. There are 100 megawatt installed for electricity. So I come from Pisa. I live in Pisa, and I work in geothermal energy with many colleagues who have been working for a while, not me personally, but for a long while. We have been in CNR, so for over 50 years now, CNR has been working in geothermal. But this is not the main reason for me to be here. So just very, very quickly, I give you some hints of what we do. Of course, we do research and innovation. This is our role as CNR is for a National Research Council. So research is our job. And in particular, we work in underground characterization. So our main expertise is exploration, investigation, environmental aspects of geothermal energy. And more and more we are related to assessment, but also sustainability studies for the production from geothermal systems, traditional geothermal systems, and innovative geothermal systems. So we provide also promotion for best practices. So we help and support market strategies, economic and environmental aspects of geothermal energy. And we also assist in developing guidelines. We assist in dissemination, in training, so professional qualification. So very, 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 very quickly. this is what we do. We also manage the database, the underground data, the geothermal data database by tradition. That's evolved with time to become a portal for geothermal information. We participate in many European and Italian projects that allowed us to give the support for continuing research and innovation in the field of geothermal. Most of them were for exploration investigation, but not only, as you will understand soon. We have been always very active also at the international level. And what I am, and this is the reason for me to talk to you about what I am providing you. So how we organize at the European level the organization and the coordination of targets for research and innovation. So this is the main topics I will talk to you today. But since I think I will leave you the slides at the end, so you will see what we do in more detail. I know that you already have a framework both from Nunzia just now, but also in previous webinars. But this is just the beginning of my presentation is that in Europe, in Italy for sure, but in general in Europe and all around the world, we are looking for energy, especially local energy, and to go out of, or as much as possible from hydrocarbon and fossil fuel production. In Europe, this is particularly important because we are not producing so much hydrocarbons, so we need and we rely a lot on imports of fossil fuels, and this is something that is becoming more and more critical. So we need a lot of energy. And we need to produce it as much as possible at a local scale. Again, these are just a few slides on the energy situation in Europe, but you already heard about this. Another important aspect that we need to consider is that in Italy and in Europe, about half of what we consume for energy is dedicated to thermal application. So mobility, so the energy spent for mobility is about 1/4 of what we consume, but half of our consumes are for thermal application. And this is something important to take into account in understanding why also research and innovation in geothermal is more and more focused on thermal application. What we do in geothermal is very, very synthetically expressed by a slide from EGEC, the European Geothermal Energy Council. This is not the last one, but gives a very clear picture of the situation. So in Europe, we have countries more dedicated to geothermal what we call direct use applications. So direct production of heat for thermal, for heating and cooling application, such as France, well, Iceland a lot, but France mainly, and other countries. Countries like Italy, where the main production is for electricity, but a lot of electricity is also produced in Iceland and in a few other countries, a little amount. And then we have Turkey, which is now progressing very, very quickly in production of both heating and cooling and for electricity. Europe at the global scale, sorry for the Italian, but I think it's very clear. So these are the data from the World Geothermal Congresses. The different colors they refer to the various years of the World Geothermal Congress. In red, the last one. Europe, you see here Europe, and it is as before you have seen the two main players are Iceland and Italy, and more recently Turkey. So right now in Europe, we produce about 22% of the global production for electricity. The situation is different for heating and cooling. The production, the share of the production in Europe with respect to the total production is lower. And so considering the large need of energy, one would expect also very, very ambitious perspective for geothermal in Europe. Actually, it is not so much. Depends very much on the country you're in. I give you just these slides from not the very last, because it was very recent and I hadn't the time to update these slides, but these are the expectation reported in a European Geothermal Conference a few years ago. So refer to a few years ago. But you see that it isn't the perspective for geothermal were not still very ambitious. But this thing is changing in the recent time. We are now having more and more ambitious targets in Europe because we know that we have a large potential. This is a picture defined from an estimate of geothermal potential for electricity. So all the countries have resources for a large deployment of geothermal energy, both for electricity, but also for example, for district heatings. And we are aware that there are many benefits. For example, the cost of geothermal energy for electricity production is competitive, but also for heating and cooling. This is just a slide from a recent IEA report for the efficiency of geothermal heat pumps with respect to others. So there are many benefits, but the issue is to communicate and to coordinate the action toward toward increasing the deployment of geothermal plants in Europe. Part of this road, this path, is also played by research and innovation. How can we define the targets? What are the topics of research and innovation that we are talking about in Europe in these last years? This was established mainly thanks to an opportunity that we had a few years ago. So in 2016, the European Commission, through the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, defined groups, so networks of stakeholders, in particular industrial stakeholders, together with academics, to establishing what are called the Technology and Innovation Platform, this ETIP. And one of the first actually to start was the Deep Geothermal ETIP, so ETIP DG, which is now, very recently, we are now moving toward embracing all the technologies, not only deep geothermal technologies, but also what we call shallow geothermal, so mainly heating and cooling application by geothermal heat pumps. But today I will talk about deep, what we call deep geothermal, so accessing deeper resources and related to large plants, geothermal plants. What is the research and innovation needed to increase the share of energy covered by geothermal technologies? Well, this was one of the main activity of ETIP-DG, which has the peculiarity of mobilizing relevant stakeholder, covering the whole innovation chain. And what I am going to tell you very, very quickly are the topics that have been defined. I am co-chair of ETIP-DG, and coordinated the organization of 3 main strategic documents that have been of reference in defining the calls related and the fundings related to geothermal energy in the last years and also at the present time. So the 3 documents are the vision for deep geothermal energy, the strategic research and innovation agenda, and then the technology roadmap. I give you all the links in this presentation if you want to take a look. So essentially, we start with the vision. So the stakeholder agree on a common vision. Then we define the topics, and we detail very much the topics on which we want to work on in the future. And then the stakeholders define a roadmap. So among this topic, a priority list is established, and we go in more detail in defining what kind of budget we need for working on these topics. In the vision, we define the main target. So we want to unlock geothermal energy to increase the social welfare, the well-being of the European society, also through geothermal deployment. And we launch the activity for novel technologies for full and responsible deployment of geothermal potential. We took into account what I said before, so that we need a lot of heat, because a large part of our energy needs is for heating and cooling application. So in our vision, we aim to cover a significant part of domestic heat demand, and also a large share of electrical power demand. So taking into account centralized as well as domestic and decentralized small scale options. So looking at the evolution of the district heating technology, for example, it is possible nowadays with current technology or technologies that can be developed in a short time, really evolve the district heating from fossil-based district heating. For example, in Italy, the very, very large part, about more than 80% of our district heating are based on fossil fuels. So to shift this trend toward renewables and including geothermal energy, because the temperature that are needed is not that high anymore. And so we can cover them with geothermal essentially everywhere or in a large part of the territories. Also including technologies by thermal energy storage, and also considering cascade applications. So, for example, in Tuscany, we have district heating systems that are not exactly cascaded from power production, from electricity production, but are strongly linked to the pipelines of the electricity production. A large part of the vision was also devoted to hybrid systems and, of course, improved efficiency, but also what we call cutting-edge technologies. So novel way to look at the underground resources, not only hydrothermal systems, but also super hot, enhanced geothermal system, and magmatic. For example, in Italy, we have a lot of very very high temperature resources that would be considered to be developed in a novel way with respect to the past, what we talked in the past. I do not go too much in the details, but just a few nice pictures. This is the city of the future that was depicted in the vision. So geothermal energy, which is completely embedded, especially in urban areas, with other renewable energies, where everything can be combined in a smart way. And also we are aware of the importance of environmental footprint, to the importance of societal needs, also in relation to this energy transition. So protection, empowerment of consumers, prosumers, energy communities, these are all important topics for geothermal energy as well as for other renewables. In the vision, we started to define the main fields of research and innovation. So we define three main, I don't know if you can see in my arrow, three main technological parts for development. So prediction and assessment of geothermal resource access, which means drilling and development, heating and cooling and electricity production, so systems for these, and two transversal and non-technical, though part of them are also technical fields, from research to deployment and knowledge sharing, and next generation of technologies. That's embedded environmental aspects, social aspects, training, education, these kind of things. In the strategic research innovation agenda, essentially we maintain the same structure, and we detailed all of these topics, defining what have been what would be the important to develop in research and innovation for these topics. When we passed to work in the roadmap, we had to define how we plan to achieve the targets. So the targets were already set in the vision and in the strategic research and innovation agenda. For the roadmap, we defined the planning for achieving the targets. We gave a priority list to research and innovation topics, and also we defined what is the budget, and where to tackle this budget. The roadmap, as we defined when we defined the document, refer to the decade 2020-2030. And was defined toward two main missions: contribute to clean energy production in Europe and unlocking of potential, and improving social welfare through responsible deployment. These are the topics related to the technological three areas that you have seen before. So these were the topics chosen in the roadmap. I do not want to go in detail because the time is short, but you can read them. You see here, we are mainly devoted to exploration, investigation, but also including workflows, catalogs, and also including non-traditional geothermal resources. In efficient resource access and development, there are some topics related to reduce operational issues, for example, the impact of scaling and corrosion, but also drilling, technologies, innovative technologies for drilling, or also technologies to monitor and operate geothermal wells. You see here, I don't know how I can, okay. And you see here what we define for heat and electricity generation, so high temperature thermal energy storage, flexible production. These are the most technological part. And then we had also parts related to regulatory, financial, political, and social solution. Some reference to improving the market, so for market uptake and creating jobs, reinforcing technological leadership, and also establish open access policy to geothermal information, and also a hub for scientific excellence and sharing of research infrastructure. For all of these topics, we also defined the budget that was necessary, summing up to 1.8 billion euros. And also we define how, from where these funds should come. So we decided that about 38% could come from European funds. Part of these 30% from public, national, and regional fundings, and part from private investment. What we achieved up to now is that most of the topics that have been defined at the time, a few years ago, because the dates are in the next slide, but vision was released. The vision was released in 2018, and the strategic research and innovation agenda and roadmap in 2019, so beginning of 2020. Most of the topics that have been chosen in the roadmap have been funded or are going to be funded, because now we have the new calls of what we, in the program, the European program Horizon Europe, these topics have been released, and some of them are in the next work document. And we are now in the phase of updating the targets. So we are now updating the strategic research and innovation agenda. For example, what I can show you that not all the topics of before have been maintained as exactly the same. The part of exploration essentially changed the title, but essentially, at least in the title, then the topics of course change, but the field, the area remained the same, as well as resource access and development becomes well technology. The production, so the part of the generation is split in will be split in two main chapters, one dedicated to power and electricity, and the other related to heating and cooling. And the two, let's say, non-technical areas are now in all together in what is called market uptake, which will cover many aspects, but also three topics exploded in a way. So there is a large focus on materials, for example, novel materials for geothermal development, a large focus on environment, and another large one related to circularity and sustainability. They were already embedded previously, but in the new strategic research, new SRIA, they will be more detailed, and a larger focus will be there. So the interest on these is growing. Just last slide. This is a picture taken from the vision. We define these key messages, no? For geothermal, so what it is, why we like it, essentially, and what we think are main advantages in deploying geothermal technology. If we had, I don't know what, well, there will be also a new vision. So for sure, we will also define other messages, but for sure, another message that can be easily foreseen for the future, because Europe is now working a lot on this topic, is lithium production from geothermal brines. So also geothermal can also contribute to batteries indirectly, but by producing lithium. And so also will start to contribute also, for example, to clean mobility, not only electricity, but also not only for electricity or heating and cooling, but also mobility. So there is a lot of activities in Europe on these. Of course, they will come in Italy too. They are coming because we are very active, but at the Italian level, we never had the opportunity to organize, or actually we had some years ago an opportunity to organize the topics, but I think I feel that much more will be done in the next years. And so with Nunzia, we are starting to think about this, how to organize this. And so I hope for the next time, for another webinar in a not so long future, we will tell you more about how we will organize this kind of activities also at the Italian level. I give you my email address here, and I invite you to join the ATIP DG. That will soon become ATIP Geothermal. On this link, you can retrieve all the documents and the information I gave you and many others. So thank you for following me, and I'm happy to answer your question, if any.
Thank you very much, Adele. If the participants have any question, can write in the chat. We can take a few minutes to answer some question. I have one that is for both of you, because Nunzia also mentioned this topic about mining potential and lithium extraction. I would like to know, is there any failed experimental site in Italy? There is something ongoing in Tuscany with the power plant, or just theoretical studies? For now.
Maybe I can answer if Adele agree. I can answer first, and then maybe she can add something. Actually, during this year, a lot of things has changed on this topic. You know, in Italy, there was a company that applied. Actually, it's a mining company that applied for licenses of geothermal brine mining in Lazio region. And the company is, it's a public news, so I can tell you it's Vulcan Energy, because there seems to be a high potential of lithium in that region. So what Vulcan is doing is applying, and Vulcan already applied for the licenses. So the application is ongoing, and it seems like has been approved, but no sample has been already tested for the lithium, but the potential is very high over there. I can say from the RSA point of view that in our research project, we are managing to analyze the geochemistry of geothermal fluid. We already had some talk with an industrial partner, but the sample are not already analyzed. So the project is written already, but we had not the opportunity to work on it like on a very intense way and deep analysis of the fluids.
Okay, I see. And then next opportunity, as Adele was mentioning, maybe we can share information about this kind of activity. Okay,
exactly.
If there are no more questions, just maybe a general question to, again, both of you, but Adele mentioned the talk about this topic more in detail, the social aspect of geothermal energy. I mean, we know, I think it depends on the country, but here in Latin America, also the cultural and social context is really different. But what do you think are the best tools to do outreach activity, communication about geothermal energy? I mean, what is missing to have this acceptation from the communities with this kind of energy? I mean, more your opinion about that. It's not a technical question.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, which is very interesting. And I am more and more interested in this topic. Italy, as Nunzia said, has been the first to develop geothermal energy for electricity production. So we have a long history, and most probably for this reason, we have been facing social criticism now for a while, which taught us also many things. But these aspects is becoming more and more important with time everywhere. And it is part of the energy transition. So society is an active partner in deciding the energy planning in a way, no? So we have been discussing about this topic for a while. There isn't a clear path. There are increasing social analysis and also recommendation for engaging the public since the beginning of the project in various ways. There are also very good examples also in Europe, but also the expertise of the operators becomes very important on this. What I am looking at the matter in a way, in a sort of scientific way. I had the opportunity and the luck actually to edit a book on social aspects of geothermal energy, which was an opportunity to have people describing the situation in various countries. And we see that the tools for social analysis is very different from case to case, from country to country. The experience is different. We will need to define a good way to engage society since the beginning, but also to monitor. Many times it is difficult to communicate the benefits, for example. Because we do not have even data for defining them, not because they are not there, but because the data are not monitored. So many things will be necessary also, for example, from the regulation point of view. For example, for the number of jobs, it is more clear in the electricity sector, but for the heating and cooling sectors, considering also the many applications of geothermal energy, the numbers of employed, direct or indirect employment jobs related to geothermal is unknown in Italy as essentially everywhere. So many things will be necessary, and we are working on recommendation guidelines and also approaching the governments for starting to have a better monitoring and to start an effective process of public engagement with geothermal plants.
Thank you very much. It was a really complete answer. So I don't want to take more of your time. Just to finish, and Renato just remind me that from the IGCP 636 project, each year we need to organize an annual meeting, and we would like to organize a meeting in Italy, maybe not next year because we already select Portugal, but maybe 2014 or 15, 2024 or 25, we would like to organize this annual meeting in Italy. So maybe we just can keep in touch, and it would be nice to visit Tuscany and the district heating in the Po Valley, and maybe we can kind of try to do something together, contributed to this communication and outreach of geothermal through this international network. And thank you for your time, and to Renato for organizing. Renato, you can, if you want to talk, you are host. I don't know if you can and you want to add something. Otherwise, thank you for all the participants. We are finishing this Geotheroom activity this year, and we will share more information at the beginning of next year. So many thanks. Good evening, afternoon, depending on your country. Grazie mille di nuovo, Annunzia e Adele. Grazie.
Grazie. Grazie a tutti.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye everyone.